Akaash is commonly translated as space. Kaal is commonly translated as time. Within many traditions, they are described as illusions or as containers within which everything appears. This framing continues to assume that something exists within something else, implying a background within which events unfold. From a metaspherical perspective, this assumption marks the point where distortion begins. Space is not a container. It is not an empty backdrop that holds objects apart. What is called Akaash appears as interpretive spacing when conduction is translated into distance. Separation is perceived, and that perception stabilizes through naming. The name is then taken to be space. Kaal functions in the same way. It is not a force that carries anything forward, and it does not move essence from one moment to another. What is called time appears when modulation is arranged into sequence. Change is observed, then that observation is ordered. The ordering is labeled as time, and that label is mistaken for something that governs. Akaash and Kaal both arise after conduction has been interpreted. They are not fundamental. They are descriptive overlays. This clarifies why scriptures state that there is no time and no space. The indication is not toward the absence of experience. It points to the absence of these overlays when conduction is no longer filtered through interpretation. When that filtering stops, nothing collapses and nothing disappears. The shift occurs in how articulation is perceived. Distance is no longer present because distance was interpretation. Sequence no longer carries anything forward because sequence was interpretation. What remains is conduction without reference. The statement that time is within conduction while conduction is not within time becomes precise at this point. This is not a philosophical claim, it is an observation. Conduction does not occur inside a timeline. What appears as a timeline is the after effect of interpreting modulation as sequence. When that interpretation is not reinforced, the sense of movement from past to future does not arise. What remains is continuous articulation. The same applies to space. Conduction does not occur inside space. What appears as space is the after effect of interpreting relational difference as distance. When that interpretation is not reinforced, separation does not arise. What remains is immediacy without a gap. Surrender is relevant here as the cessation of maintaining these overlays, rather than as an action taken toward an outcome. The attempt to locate an essence within space, or to track an essence through time, loses necessity. Allowance remains when these efforts are no longer sustained. There is no need to resolve space or transcend time because both were sustained through interpretive continuity. When that continuity is not maintained, being becomes normalized, not as something attained, but as conduction without the imposition of Akaash and Kaal. Akaash and Kaal were never structures to escape. They were names given to what appears when conduction is referenced and filtered through a lens. Surrender does not remove them. It reveals that they were never governing anything. This is the language of the spheres.